So now you didn't have anybody with the expertise to pass the information on.
But what wasn't it? I thought there was a person saying that they had sent out warnings during the night to everybody, and apparently everybody was sleeping. They didn't get the warning.
Well, that was part of it. Without question, that was part of it.
Yeah.
But the other part of it was the people who knew how to get a hold of most of the affected individuals, basically mass media, local disaster people, et cetera, was gone.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
He was kind of forced out and not replaced. And there were other people who theoretically could have done it and did what they could, but they didn't know how.
Do you know who that person was?
I don't have the name, but the guy, I heard an interview with him a couple of different times.
Well, personally, I think you should know the name if you're going to bring up the subject.
I don't know the name of all the people who were laid off at Social Security and the people who said, call in if you have any changes, and then had the Social Security infrastructure go down. We know it happened. We don't necessarily know the individual, and I don't think knowing the individual is necessarily all that important.
Well,
And I would say we probably may not know the actual details of what you're talking about.
if you're assigning responsibility, it's Donald Trump. He's the guy that okayed all these massive layoffs in the government structure. That it wasn't just FEMA. It was Social Security and who knows what else. That they're getting rid of hundreds of thousands of people. Now
But
they
in the
have.
case of FEMA, I don't know whether in the case of FEMA you can actually link this bill to that. That's what I'm wondering because we don't have the actual details.
Well, I didn't see in the write-up that I saw any mention of FEMA and its whether it was funded or not. So I think it's fair to say we don't know. But I do know that FEMA, independently of the bill, before the bill was passed, its funds were cut. The focus was, instead of having the federal government distribute on an as-needed basis, they wanted to give flat funds to a bunch of states, regardless of whether they had a problem or not, and that there would not be the federal expertise available to the states should a problem occur. For example, what happened in Texas. This is an area where, this kind of thing, not as bad as it was, but this kind of thing tends to happen.
Are we on already or no? Are we on already?
I don't know. I'll tell you whether it's 8 o'clock or not.
It is.
It's
Sounds like it's
8:03. I think
8:03.
we're on. Okay, I think we're on.
Okay.
In case anybody was wondering, we're at least initially going to be talking about the big, beautiful, beautiful bill that was just passed and what it really means. Because depending on who you're talking to or what news source you're getting, you get, in many cases, entirely different answers. So that's kind of what we've been arguing about.
But one thing I should point out is that which is clean that the electric vehicle that subsidy is going to be gone September 30th,
Yes.
and so that's a clean cut. And Social Security, that's a different problem.
Well, I'm not sure that it's necessarily a different problem because it's, again, I think, Robert Krieg, think that it's a ideological thing. Why are you getting rid of the EV subsidy? Because you don't like this idea of clean energy, which means climate change, which means people are at least partially at fault for what's going on, like, for example, right outside our doors. It was in Billerica, it was in the mid-90s today. And it's going to get one hell of a lot harder, according to the Weather Bureau, which
I don't believe anybody would say they don't want a clean environment. So you're starting off a statement saying that I don't believe it's true.
uh, well, if
It's
you
a way of wanting to accomplish a clean environment may be different in different people's viewpoints, but to just throw out that people don't want a clean environment, I think that's off kilter.
well, let me throw out an example or two that question, because I think the vast majority of people would like a clean environment. However,
I don't personally know anybody that wouldn't want a clean environment.
well, I can tell
But
you.
do we want to pay for it?
Well, okay, that's a second
That's another
thing.
story. That's a different story.
Right. But let me talk about a clean environment. One of the first regulations that the Trump administration got rid of was dumping industrial and mining waste into waterways in West Virginia. It's been a big thing. The coal company is saying it's costing us a ton of money. We could just get rid of the thing just by dumping it in the river. And the Trump administration got rid of that regulation. So now coal waste is dumped into West Virginia water sources. Now, whether the people who dumped it in there want a dirty environment or not, you'd have to get a psychologist to figure it out. But the net result of what they're doing is, without question, dirtying the environment. Is that fair?
Will those companies get sued because of it?
If it's not against the law,
It's not
on
against
what-
the law, but
then how do you sue them?
if it causes sickness?
First, you've got to get somebody to prove that that particular coal that they dumped caused sickness. And two, if it's not against the law, if it's not against the law, and if I were bigger than I am, and I hit you in the jaw, could you sue me? No, because it's not against the law. You might beat the shit out of me, but that's a different story. So
If
there's
you
gotta-
punch, you're saying if you punch Paul in the mouth, it is not against the law.
if it wasn't against
Yeah.
the law, I made that clear.
Okay.
I mean, it obviously is. Not only is it against the law, but from a survival point of view, it's a good idea. He's lost some weight, but he's still a hell of a lot bigger and stronger than I am. My point being, you can't sue somebody for doing something that is not illegal.
But the other what I was going to add to the electric vehicle subsidy is that how does that actually help the environment? Because the creating those solid state batteries is a hell of a lot of pollution involved and all kinds of things which go into the battery to procure it, to manufacture it. It's not. I don't think it's clean.
I agree it's not clean. And here's an area where I'm only somewhat educated in. The things that are necessary to go into the battery that are dirty are one-time situations, as opposed to the pollution from burning oil and gasoline. Two, as we become more educated and we learn more about how things work, the process of developing these things is becoming cleaner. So you might be able to assume that over time there will be less pollution involved. We're learning a tremendous amount about batteries. And as we learn more and we find how to make them work better and cleaner, then the process gets better.
I think you have a point there actually, because the long-term cost of maintaining an electric vehicle is lower than what we do with the gasoline car. We are familiar with the gasoline car, and we spew a lot of a lot of exhaust into the environment. That's true.
Yeah. And there's a ton of other costs, but I think part of, because it's ideologically not accepted by the administration in power, they're going after all kinds of things. They're going after wind power. They're going after solar power. They're going after hydroelectric power, I think. I'm not sure. That I haven't seen
Why are they
anything
going
specific.
after wind power?
Because they're canceling wind projects
Why are they doing that?
for a variety of reasons, including they don't like it.
Well, it's a matter of fact that it's very unproductive. It's very costly and unproductive, and it's damaging to damaging to the environment itself. Out in
How?
on the oceans with all these windmills out in the ocean, causing problems with the sea life, as well as just problems with them functioning right. And you probably got 20 years before they have to be replaced. And there's no answer to find how these things are going to be disposed of.
Well, actually, I was reading an article not too long ago where they're developing technology on the blades so that the blades can be broken out and recycled. As far as sea life being affected by the windmills, the only sea life that could be affected by the windmills would be seagulls and other birds.
No,
The
they're
fish
talking
can't
about
be.
all the whales that have been turning up on the East Coast and probably throughout other parts of the world is astronomical numbers compared to what it used to be.
And they're turning up with what kind of injuries? Certainly not from wind blades.
I don't know for sure what the injuries are, but there's something, and I think it has something to do with the signals that are coming from the windmills are conflicting with their signal system on how they communicate with other whales.
Okay, that's possible. I don't know. I hadn't
But
read that, but that's possible.
but there is a caveat to this, is that the newer wind power machines, some of them have no blades. They are hidden in a tube so that you don't even see anything. And there are blades that are now made which don't look like blades at all, and they actually are more environmentally friendly in the sense that they don't make those noises. And that's one version, which looks like a nice flower actually, which is rotating by itself. And then you have technologies where blades are hidden within a tube so that you don't even hear anything. But those technologies are being made, are advancing, but not the ones which the older technologies, of course, are really harmful to the birds and other animals as well. That part is correct, actually.
And the production of electricity that they give out is questionable.
The newer technologies, they say that they are much more reliable. They run at much more much lower wind speeds,
Well,
and it's kind of. But I have not seen the projects yet. But I read about it.
Well, I would hope that they would make these things better as time marches on.
Yeah.
But at the moment, that's not the answer,
So,
in my opinion.
So what is the alternative? To burn oil into the atmosphere?
Nuclear power is one of the biggest answers.
Okay.
And that's being worked on right as we speak in different places throughout the world, including at 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. That's going to be activated, I think, not too far from now.
Reactivated. It was out of commission.
Reactivated, whatever.
What do they do with the waste?
They've had a problem from the very beginning with nuclear waste, and
I mean, I'm pro-nuclear, but what do they do with the
They've
waste?
done some things with how to dispose of the waste. I don't know what the answer is.
Right.
I can't remember what that is.
by the way,
Put it in the river in North Carolina, or
no, they thought about it, but it wouldn't work. New York, maybe. my father did testing on the initial, I think it was Roe up here in Massachusetts. It was the first commercial atomic power plant, and he was involved with the testing of the materials there.
That was up in Vermont, wasn't it?
I thought it was on the border of I don't remember.
You
It
mean
was
the,
a
you mean the
long
Pilgrim?
time ago. Huh?
Pilgrim? Is that the Pilgrim plant?
No,
No,
that's a
no.
different one.
No, this was earlier. I thought it was Roe.
At any
What-
rate, go
whatever.
on.
Seabrook.
It was
Seabrook?
no,
No,
it was, it
Seabrook
was
in
a-
New Hampshire.
it was about 60 years ago because it was installed when I was graduating high school.
Oh, okay.
So it was a long time ago. One of the things that is the potential for disaster should there be an accident, and we've seen accidents like Chernobyl. And what do you do with the waste? And what do you do with the site when it's decommissioned? These are significant issues. But again, progress is being made as we learn. There was something I was reading, I don't remember the details, where they were figuring out how to utilize nuclear waste to reuse it so that it would be a lot less ultimately when it had to be disposed of. So again, things are happening. By the way, one of the leaders in all of this, with the possible exception of nuclear, is China. And when we stop doing subsidies, what we're essentially saying is all the new technology that the rest of the world, whether we like it or not, is getting involved in, is going to come out of China, not out of the US. So what do you do for jobs? What do you do with tariffs, etc.?
Is that your opinion or the opinion of somebody else?
The articles I have read, I'm obviously not in China and the US measuring all the different things, but the articles I've read say that China is probably the biggest polluter in the world, and they are making very rapid progress in reducing their pollution because
Well, they're putting up many many coal plants per week in China. They continue to do that. Now, I'm sure they must be getting something in nuclear, but
and solar and wind, all of the above, because they're using more power. Whether they're starting new coal plants or not, I don't know. I'll accept that they are, but I guarantee you that they're producing more power from clean energy than we are. And
well, I would take a bet on that.
Okay, $10. You want to hold my 10?
I mean, their population is 8 to 10 times the United States. So why wouldn't they?
Yeah. I don't know. Well,
But,
yeah,
but,
maybe
but,
they-
at the, but at the same time, abolishing the subsidies would that hamper research into the alternate energy sources?
Of course.
yeah. I mean, if forget any other thing, if you can't sell it, why would a company spend money doing research in something that is going to be difficult and not impossible to sell?
Well, we can sell energy locally, but if we reduce the number of people in higher universities that can major in this, then we're going to be less capable of competing worldwide.
Right.
So
And the people,
it's the beginning of the fall of our superiority,
yeah, I think
The
way I
beginning,
would-
I'm sorry, Paul, but the beginning of a fall of what?
of our superiority.
technical superiority.
I don't believe that's true. I think we're at least at even if not better than most any other country in the world.
But
We
what's going to
always
be
were.
tomorrow?
We always
Today,
were, but
you know.
like for instance, take the assault on American universities. Good Lord! I mean, that's so simple to see. How can you question that?
What do you mean by this? What's your when are you talking about as far as the assault on universities?
Harvard, I, Ivy League universities, the ones that we, um, uh, the ones that we send our best and brightest to, MIT.
Supposedly our brightest, and probably half of them are from other countries.
So
Yes,
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 and
they
they come
are,
to
and
work
they come
here.
here and they stay here and they start companies here.
But
And they're not
how do
going
you?
to anymore because number one, there's no money for research, but number two, and more importantly, our country does not want them here. We're going under very stringent controls to make sure that anybody who comes in fits some ideological pattern. So they're going to other countries that are
They-
welcoming them.
They have to have proper visas to get
Right, they
student
do, and they
visas.
always have had, but suddenly the proper
I
visa
don't believe that's
changes.
true.
Well,
I don't believe that's true.
Why?
They-
Why don't you
well,
believe that's true?
Because I've read enough stuff saying that indicates that there's some questions on these visas. But what are you saying? What are you saying about so all these riots that have been happening at Harvard and Columbia and many other schools? That's okay.
No, it's not okay, but neither is the Netanyahu systematically annihilating what is it? 2 million people.
I'm sorry, not who eliminating what?
Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel,
Yeah, I know
his
that.
policies are aimed at eliminating the population of Gaza.
Oh, that's your
By the
opinion.
way,
What?
I am a lifelong Zionist, a very strong promoter of Israel, and I can tell you that I and many other Jews in the United States believe that what Netanyahu is doing is absolutely wrong, and long term, short term, who knows, but long term will cause Israel tremendously. It's much the same as my problem with a lot of the Trump policies. Short term, maybe they might have some positive effect. Long term, when you punch your neighbor in the jaw, he's less likely to cooperate with you when you want him to do something that help you or help the street or whatever. And that's what we're doing. And Netanyahu is, unfortunately, and his government, trying to eliminate the population of Gaza one way or another. And that is wrong. Forget morally, forget all that other shit. It's wrong for the long-term survival of Israel.
Has he told you? Has he told you that? Or that's how you surmise?
I have watched the actions. I have read extensively news reports from a variety of sources.
Opinion, and that's your opinion, and that's fine, Bob.
Okay.
I don't have a problem if you want to believe that.
He is either deliberately trying to do this or he is unbelievably stupid. And based on what we have read over the past 20 or 30 years that he's been involved in Israeli politics, he's not stupid.
Omen, I must have something to say.
I was going to ask, the flip side to this is that he's at the ground level, and would you be able to give him benefit of doubt that he knows what is the situation, or do you think he's going against the actual not looking long term? But that's what I was going to ask, is that because he's at the ground level, he knows what is happening, and maybe he knows more than what we know. But at the same time, the problem is that he has not gotten the hostages back. So it's kind of, in my head, it's kind of a dilemma there. And that's what my question was to you. What do you think about that?
He is saying, and he's probably correct, that Hamas is embedded so much in the population and in the infrastructure that whatever he does to try to eliminate Hamas and prevent them from another attack like the October attack will have a very great impact on the general population. I believe that to be true. I also believe that when you're fighting a guerrilla war, which people have been doing for thousands of years, one of the problems is if you're not very, very, very careful, your attacks on the bad people end up costing more because now the general population goes against you. Vietnam, perfect example. We got involved in Vietnam because the French got beaten, and we went in and we were doing pretty well with the general population.
Mhm.
And then we stopped doing so well. We started worrying about, oh, the Kong is over here, and so we got to get rid of them, and collateral damage, well, you know, what can you do? And the net result was the general population went against us.
And also we got rid of these. I think we also got rid of the Vietnamese president or whatever he was. And I don't know why he was removed. Not removed only, but I think he was killed. I guess I forgot whether he was killed or he was just removed.
I think I think you're talking about DM, and I believe he was removed,
Yeah.
but I don't remember the detail. It was
Yeah, and I thought that was I don't know at that time this was supposed to be a Washington drama that they created and to help the overall situation, but it made it worse.
so. Based on history, and history is you try something and over time you see the result, and supposedly you learn from it. And based on history, what Netanyahu is doing, I maintain that the rightist government in Jerusalem and Hamas have the same goal. They will fight to the last Gazan civilian. They really don't care about the Gazan civilian, neither side. And at some point, somebody has to. And if it is Israel and they sell it properly, because you can't just go in and say, okay, we give up. But if they sell it properly, they could actually get a neighbor who is at least as friendly as they were up until 3 years ago. Remember, the interaction between Israel and Gaza was fairly smooth. There were 100,000 people who used to come daily across the border to work in the kibbutzes in the area. And then somebody said, you know what? If I kill a bunch of Israelis and I do it brutally and I take pictures of it and I put the pictures up on the internet and I make sure that every time somebody does something to somebody on the Gazan side of the border, there's pictures of it and I blame Israel for being excessive, etc., then long term, not the first year or two, but long term, I will win. So Hamas is being very smart, and Netanyahu not so smart. But
I mean, that's the terrorist act they did, and that needs to be dealt with. And that's what I'm kind of thinking about, that because Netanyahu is on the ground level, he has to deal with what the situation is. Maybe he knows more than what we know. That's all I'm saying.
well, what his
Well,
cabinet says that all of Palestine was given to the Jews by God, and they operate on that basis.
Okay.
Again, short term, long term. Remember my old axiom: if I can define when history starts and I can define the focus of what we're analyzing, I can justify any action. And that's what Netanyahu is doing right now.
Okay.
All right. We were going to talk about the big ugly bill at some point.
I think Paul has something to say, I
yeah.
guess. So
Well, I started talking about the ugly bill, and then I diverted my attention to Trump and his plane and his bitcoins.
Okay.
You know, the president is supposed to get his salary, and that's it. You know, if he already has existing stocks, somebody else is supposed to watch them and make sure that they don't fail. He got a Boeing 747 from Far East as a gift.
And that's going to his presidential library.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. By the way,
But,
he gets to
wait,
use it.
He got it as a gift, and then Congress decided to put a $200 million addition to it, so it would become an Air Force One. Well, in order for Congress to do that, Trump had to give it up to the United States, which he did not. So he received a $200 million gift from Congress. Is he going to pay taxes on that? I don't think so. And then he was
depends on how
going to
that
want it back
depends
again.
on how that gift was worded.
Well,
It doesn't matter how it was worded. It was a gift. It was a gift. He should have given up the plane to the United States in order to have that done. That's one thing. Then he has these $1 million bitcoins. His salary is supposed to be only as president, only the 35 or 65,000 or whatever the heck it is now. I don't. It was
a few 100,000. I
200.
don't remember.
Yeah,
I think it's 200.
yeah. But it's quote the Trump family. If he disjoins himself from the Trump family, then yes, the bitcoins can go there. But he's going to be personally benefited by it. And you can see how he was personally benefited by it. He had this big shindig dinner, and all these people came, and they came with their bitcoins, and they got favors. And some people got released from prison.
I thought you couldn't see bitcoins. How did they come along with the bitcoins?
They spent, in order to be
They-
invited to
they're
the
Trump
thing,
bitcoins
they
at
had to do $5
$1
million.
million each.
They had to buy $5 million worth of Bitcoin. And they
But
had to use.
they're not anything physical, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a piece of gold with Trump's face on it.
I thought bitcoins were all in
No,
the
no,
computer.
there's something else. This isn't a Bitcoin. It was
I
another
believe
thing.
you're right, Omanon.
It comes under the general
Whatever.
general umbrella of a
Right.
Bitcoin.
He sold something many, many hundreds of millions of dollars worth of value. And the money went to him or his family as opposed to the Treasury. And he went so far as to say, hey, if you buy $5 million worth of this, then you can come to the White House. And one woman whose son was a drug dealer bought $5 million worth of stuff and asked for a pardon for her son and got it.
That's a
So what is wrong with
quid
that?
pro quo.
Yeah.
And
I mean, is
He
that
should
is
go to
that
jail for
is
that.
that illegal?
yes, it
Is
is.
that illegal?
Yes, it
Huh?
is.
Well, there's a
Oh.
bunch of things that are illegal, including the fact that the Constitution, not even an amendment, the Constitution says that it's called the Emoluments Clause, that you cannot get any money or favors, gifts, or whatever from a foreign country.
So the Biden
And-
family got nothing from China or some of these other countries.
The Biden family, yeah. By the way, the law does not say that the family can't benefit. And oh, by the way, before the Biden family got money, the Trump family got money. There was a negotiation going on with China, and Ivanka, I believe it was, got a special permit for her company to operate and sell in China. And that negotiation was going on in the White House. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I was told not to swear, so I apologize. There was a lot of stuff that has been going on for a while, but Trump is not, pure, honest, and above board and transparent. The Biden family, there are people in everybody's family. Billy Carter, yeah, did okay. Mostly because his name was Carter. It's not clear that Jimmy had anything to do with it or benefited in any way. But you can't control your family.
That's not necessarily true, but that's okay.
Okay, you're better at it than I am. When you look at some of these things, and the Bitcoin thing that Paul was talking about, that was plain old-fashioned graft. And the only difference between that and what Menendez did in New Jersey was Menendez was hiding it. Trump was out there publicizing it. Come, spend $5 million and come have dinner with me. Spend, I don't remember how much more, and I'll actually take you on a tour of the White House.
Doesn't President have a discretion to annul that emolument clause for himself, or no?
No,
No.
No? Oh, okay.
no.
If he could, I'm sure that many presidents would have found a way to do it.
His income is supposed to be limited to that amount that the U.S. government pays him.
And it doesn't sound like a whole hell of a lot until you realize that all this room, board, transportation, etc., is paid for. So whatever he's getting as a salary, that be his.
But I'm looking at what the president does. I think it's a very tough job, actually, to be the president, no matter what, no matter who it is. It's a really a tough job. It's a 24/7 and plus. I don't know how they pull it off.
I would not want to be president. I'd start from there. Once I understood what was involved, never wanted to be president. But there are some people who like being
In charge.
the boss, the king. And as long as they're working in a way that I'm comfortable with, whose goals are goals that I'm comfortable with, good. Not everybody's the same, and thank God for that. But after a while, sometimes they aren't working in goals that I'm comfortable with, in ways that I'm comfortable with. And at that point, then I have a problem. So, in any case, the big, beautiful bill. One of the things that was key to the big, beautiful bill was tax reductions. And everybody got a little. Some people got more than a little. But the key to the thing is when you say we don't have any money, we can't help sick people, we can't help hungry people because we don't have the money, but the reason we don't have the money is we're giving it to rich people who are not doing the one thing that they could do that would help everybody, which is invest in the country. Because we tried
Now,
that.
what is an example of that? The rich people are getting the money. Actually, I don't understand that part. Is that because of the taxes, or how do
Taxes.
you explain that?
The taxes
it's a
more
low
than anything
tax rate.
else.
But I thought the corporations had no tax anyway.
No, the corporations have taxes. It's less now than it used to be.
Oh,
And
So-
one of the justifications for it being less than taxing them so little is there are a whole bunch of little corporations. When I was consulting, at one point I was incorporated, and my income was very, very small, and I was paying pretty much the same tax rate as a big corporation. One of the things we could do to deal with that would be to say we have a graduated income tax for individuals, we should have a graduated income tax for major corporations. And
that's what Warren Buffett wanted, actually.
I didn't know anybody else that had proposed it. I've been proposing it for a while.
I mean, Warren Buffett was actually comparing his taxes with
Right.
his secretaries, and he was saying that that's not fair.
Right.
But I don't know what fair was, but
Well, he was talking federal. I remember seeing that. He was talking the federal tax rates,
yeah.
effective
Yeah.
tax rate, because he got all kinds of deductions and
Yeah.
write-offs, et cetera, that the secretary didn't get. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
Warren Buffett learned that from Bob. Oh man.
Is that right?
and I want
Yeah.
credit. I want credit.
I want credit. Okay, I think you should call
He's
Buffett.
Warren Buffett's consultant.
True, because anything else would be too much work. But
My understanding is, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, that the majority of the taxes in this country are paid for by the wealthiest people in the country. I forget how high that percentage is. It might be somewhere around 70% of the wealthiest people pay the taxes. In the level of people below that in income, maybe it's somewhere around 20%. And then it's down to the people who don't earn a lot of money pay a very small percentage of the actual taxes.
all right, two factors. Number one, include all taxes, including sales tax and other taxes. And two, I question your numbers. I know in the 50s, the middle class, the 50s and 60s, the middle class paid the vast majority of taxes. And I believe that has changed, but I don't have any numbers, and I don't know really how
You
much.
said
it
that
has
was in the
changed.
50s?
In the 50s, the middle class paid the vast majority, 70,
So a
80%
vast
of
majority, you're
taxes.
saying more than 50%?
Say again?
You're saying by this description, you're saying the
Total.
vast majority, you're saying
The-
more than
No, the
50%.
total
The
taxes.
total taxes earned by the middle,
Middle
class,
class.
was greater.
The taxes paid by the middle class in federal income tax was the majority of the money coming into the federal government.
Okay, I just want to
Yeah,
just
no,
want to pin you down because I
Right.
want to look that up.
Yeah, today I don't think, I may be wrong, but I don't think that the top 10%, let's just use an arbitrary number, top 10% of the population pays 50% of the income tax. I may be wrong, I don't think so.
I think they do. I certainly would expect they do because they have so much more to. But the rate that they are paying is lower.
Right.
The effective rate is lower,
And
which
one,
is hard to believe.
one of the things of interest is that the amount of wealth in the upper echelon, the top, I think I read at one point, and don't quote me on this, the top 1%'s wealth is the equivalent of the bottom 50% or something like that of the population, and that was not true in the 50s. So even if they are paying more money, than everybody else, the net result is significantly better. They are benefiting from everything that we do. And remember, the last time the federal government ran a surplus was in the year 2000. And in 2001, George W. Bush pushed for a tax cut and got it. And his justification was, we have more money than we're spending, we should give it back to the people who paid it. Forget paying down the debt. He cut taxes, and then there was a war. And instead of every other time we've had a war, we increased taxes to cover the cost of the war. He didn't do that. So suddenly the national debt started going up. And then the Republicans started complaining about the fact that we're paying so much money to all these poor people, and we don't have the money anymore, we have to cut back. And there's a way of explaining that, and that is that the poor people don't justify any help from the rest of us, because being poor is evil.
Do you think the people that are considered poor in this country are better off or not as well off as most of the people who are considered poor in other parts of the world?
Yes, they are better off, far better off.
Okay, well, it's good to see that you understand that.
They could be a little bit better off than they are, and certainly not treated as if they were criminals. Actually, I was just reading an article just before I came down here. Dr. Oz, remember him? I think he's in charge of Medicare and Medicaid. He was saying that this whole idea of people being sick is wrong, and if people don't stop taking care of sick people, then the federal government should go after the corporations and make them do it.
So what are you saying? Actually, I could not understand anything you said.
Okay, Dr. Oz.
I agree with Oman. I don't know what he's talking about either.
Oz, the guy on TV, he ran for governor, I think, of Pennsylvania.
He ran for Senate in
Senator
Pennsylvania.
Right. He made a statement, and I was just reading it, the statement just before I came up here this afternoon. And he was saying that people are too sick in the country, and that's got to stop, and they should stop being sick, and if they won't stop being sick on their own, then the corporations and the government should force them to stop being sick.
So we can quote you as that's how he said it.
Would you like to? For $10, I'll send you a copy of the article. I got to make money somehow or another.
But that's interesting. I mean, if you look at it, I don't know if he said that if we trust you that he said it that way, but the question is, people get sick.
It's their fault. If they didn't eat so much, if they didn't not exercise, if they didn't go places where people were coughing and sneezing, then they wouldn't get sick, and therefore we'd have so much more productivity.
Now, again, Bob, there's some truth to that. I mean, people who watch what they're eating, they exercise, they and so forth and so on, they're much better off than some people who, well, I'm sure they're much better off than people who don't do any of those kinds of things for whatever reason. Right. Maybe they can't. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that obviously we all have a certain ability, opportunity to improve, keep our health to a certain degree. Many people choose not to do that.
Right. The question is,
maybe that's what he was talking about. I don't know.
I agree with you, except for the problem. We supposedly live in a free country, and there isn't somebody who's keeping track of my body mass index on a regular basis to make sure that I'm doing all the things I need to do so that some rich person won't have to pay for my medical care.
But that's where one of the things that what Chuck is talking about, the lifestyle changes,
Mhm.
changes in lifestyle. But those are the things that people have been advocating for. That
Right.
lifestyle affects a lot of things, and maybe that's what he's talking about.
I'm sure he is, but the question is, do we live in a free country where people are free to be stupid and eat too much chocolate and drink?
I agree, Bob.
Yeah.
People should have that choice to do that. But if they choose to do that, then they shouldn't be looking to be helped out of their situation if they're so stupid about doing that.
Okay, fine. So therefore, you're free to do whatever you want, but the society washes their hands of you. What percentage of the population, including Dr. Oz, fits this profile of the people who should be helped?
Well, I mean, I think we do an extraordinary job trying to help people who have some medical problems. They have healthcare problems, and we do an incredible job trying to take care of them. And I don't know if it's possible for us to take care of everybody throughout the whole country, let alone the whole world, with all these people that are coming into this country looking for a handout. Many of them, not all of them.
Yeah, I mean, most of most of them, if you listen to our esteemed leader, um, are rapists and murderers um, and burglars, and they don't work. And so we're going to get rid of them. How are we going to get rid of them? We're going to go down to a restaurant where they're washing dishes. We're going to go to a place where they're trying to get day labor to go work in somebody's yard or something like that. Those are the people who we're getting rid of. And it turns out that according to Donald Trump, there are more murderers and rapists, etc., in the country who are undocumented immigrants than there are those crimes. There are 20 million, supposedly 20 or 10 million undocumented people in the country. We don't have 10 million rapes in this country. We don't have 10 million murders.
Oh,
So it's basically ideology. And I don't buy their ideology. I think it's wrong. And in the same way as I'm criticizing Netanyahu in Israel, I'm criticizing Trump and his ideology. I think it is maybe short term, there may be some benefits, but long term, it is going to destroy us.
so you think that we would have been better off with having a Harris administration versus the Trump administration?
Of course.
Yes,
Of course, yeah. Oh, well,
because Harris,
I'm glad not all the people in Burlington don't believe the way you do. The two of you do.
I think actually
I-
more than 50% voted for Harris, but not a tremendous amount more because it's a fairly conservative town. But
I looking at the polling, which I did some months ago, from many of the cities in Massachusetts, including Burlington, it was 55-45.
I believe that.
Harris over Trump.
Right. So
no, it-
So,
let me throw a monkey wrench in there. Now that's a hypothetical question, actually, which cannot be answered the way it is.
what question was that, Omanan?
That would it have been better to have a Harris running the presidency rather than Trump? Because Harris is not in. It is Trump who is running. So you are looking at the person who is running at the moment. So we don't know what Harris would have done.
well,
Well, I mean,
That's why I'm saying that's a hypothetical question.
I agree it's a hypothetical question, but based upon Harris's track record and the way she was speaking during the election leading up to it, she sounded like she didn't know much about anything. She was asked at one point in a question about what would you do different than what the Biden administration has been doing, and she said, "I can't think of a thing."
okay. Understand.
That was her answer.
By the way, that's a political answer. But
Yeah.
if you think in terms of, let me tell you why I believe very strongly that the country had been better off under Harris, because everybody who exists in this country who's doing better than rock bottom is operating according to a certain set of rules and a certain pattern. When you make a massive change to that, the disruption causes a lot of problems for a significant portion of the population. Harris would not have made major changes. Trump is making major changes. So therefore, at least short term, a whole bunch of people are getting laid off from the government. They're getting screwed.
Which needs to be done,
Whether
because
it-
there was an overabundance.
Why?
Whether it needs to
Why?
be done or not. By the way, I disagree about the extent of it, but that's a subject for a different conversation. It was done radically. There are hundreds of thousands of people who thought they had secure jobs who either no longer have secure jobs or will very soon be laid off, depending upon court cases. And
Is that what the number is,
disruption-
Bob? Over hundreds of thousands?
Hundreds
Is
of
that what the
thousands.
number is? Hundreds of
Yeah,
thousands?
those got
Okay.
rid of 100,000 or more.
Okay.
Okay.
But you have to recognize that Trump won the election based on whatever he said like that, and so he's in the saddle.
And he's violated all of the things he promised to do, other than be a dictator.
But by the way, when their civil service law said you can't lay people off without due process, and Doge went in and said gone. So there is a law, and he ignored it, and the courts in some cases have said no, you can't do that, or you can't do it the way you did it. So yeah, he went and he did it, and it's basically, I'm going to do it, and if you say I'm wrong, okay, I'll ask for forgiveness. But meanwhile, go away. He got rid of agents and regulations whose purpose was to protect the individual. And yeah, it cost companies some money, and it made things a little more difficult. My go-to thing is the Disability Act, which says companies have to provide capability for the public to get in and for people to do jobs, even if they're disabled. And it's a major pain in the ass for a whole bunch of things, including the town hall. It's very difficult for people to get around. It costs money. But the result is that more people get to participate in society as full citizens. And Trump has a different viewpoint. And if the law says something else, well, let's see if we can get away with getting around the law or change it or put things in. Now, the Disabilities Act has not been tampered with, to my knowledge. But I do know that Social Security, he's not going to get rid of the Social Security fund. He's not going to do anything like that. But he's going to make it a hell of a lot more difficult to get to your money. If you change your bank account, it used to be you call up and say, my bank account is now blah, blah, and everything's fine. Now you have to go to an office and show proof. Okay, there's some logic to that. But he's closing offices. He's making it more difficult. And he's making it more difficult for the people who, in many cases, who are least capable of going to the office. The net result will be...
We've only got 2 more minutes before the time
I'm
is
sorry.
up.
I got carried away.
Just a quick question. Who do you feel is the leader of the Democratic Party as of today?
Me. There isn't anybody that everybody's agreed to. I think there are a number of candidates.
Name a couple.
Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg? Okay.
I think he is outstanding. He got zero chance of being elected, but he's outstanding. The governor of California, the
Newsom,
the guy, the senator from New Jersey, who is great.
The governor of Pennsylvania.
Governor of Pennsylvania. They're all very, very good. Nobody has coalesced the organization yet. It will. They'll get to it.
All right, just I was just curious.
Okay.
I respect your answers.
Well, this is the best answer. Okay, we're just about done.
Yeah.
I hope that everybody had a good time. And,
All right. Well, good to see you all.
okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Chuck.
Behave.
No.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye
Bye-bye,
bye.
Ellen.